Hello, this is Anna Pacheco, SantaFe101.com, and my guest today is Sylvia Ligocky, and she's going to tell us all about the incredible archives that are located in Deming at the Deming Luna Miembros Museum and Archives. Sylvia, do I have your permission to record this interview?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, good. So first of all, before we even get started, what I'm trying to do with this program is to let people know how, about other people that live in these communities. And so tell me a little bit about your background. How long have you been in Deming?
Well, I came to Deming in 1952 as an eighth grader with my parents and brothers. And then I graduated from Deming High School in 1957. I got married. I married a farmer. I did the first 2 years until he graduated. Then I came home, and then I went back in 69 and 71, got my bachelor's degree in elementary ed and started teaching third and fourth grade. And I taught until 1997. And I had gotten my master's in 1981 in education, in elementary ed.
And so you came as an eighth grader. Where did your parents come from? Where's your family from originally?
We're from, I was born in El Paso, but I lived there 2 weeks. But we came from Uvalde, Texas.
And was your father a farmer, or what brought you to the region?
No, my dad had grown up on a ranch. He graduated from New Mexico State in biology. He was with the Soil Conservation Service. He had a brother that lived here in Deming that was a county agent that had gone to New Mexico State and had been on the Bataan Death March and came back. And he became a farmer, and cotton was king then. And he talked my dad into coming here to become a cotton buyer, and which was a good thing for my dad, my mom and dad. It was better income and everything. And so that's how we kids end up in Deming. Not that we wanted to, but we ended up here. I'm still here. My brothers left, and I'm still in Deming.
But you've seen a lot of Deming. So Deming, you've seen Deming change a lot. I mean, essentially you've been there just about almost all your life. So what was the population of Deming when you got there, and what is it now?
It was around 6,000 when we moved to here, and I think just Deming itself is around 14,000. The county is around 20,000. The whole Luna County.
Okay, good.
It's grown. Deming has grown, but it's lost its little town ambiance, and we had a place that everybody would go to and meet after they got through shopping in a 4-block area, and that's all gone. The local owners of mercantile and dress shops and clothing store, it's all gone. It's not the same town it used to be.
Oh, that sounds like my hometown. Santa Fe is my hometown. And the Santa Fe Plaza, when I was growing up here, we had a J.C. Penney on the plaza. We had local shoe stores. So all of Santa Fe, we'd all go to the, to the Santa Fe Plaza area. We'd do our shopping, and we'd, see each other. We'd run into locals. So it's just the sign of the times. Things definitely do change. But so now let's delve into, since you've been retired, how long have you been with the archives?
Since 1999.
I've
been here. I started in 1999 with a lady that was a retired school teacher. And then when she passed away, there was another fellow here that used to be chief of police. And he also was on the school board and everything, and he loved history. And he did a lot of some of the binders that we have in the archives was put together by him. And he died several years ago. And I told his daughter that he shouldn't have died. We weren't through his brain, because he loved history, and he had lived here and been gone and came back.
Well, tell me about some of the different collections available at the archives today.
Well, today we have a lot of military information, because at one time we had 3 different installations here. One of them was Fort Cummings, which was built during the Civil War and later became an outpost to combat the Apaches, and Buffalo soldiers were stationed there. That was 1862 to about 1886. Then we had Camp Cody, which was a National Guard camp, and it was 1917 to 1919. And at one time, at various times, there were 30,000 soldiers there, and Deming had 10 theaters, an opera house, and all these things for the soldiers. And then in 1942 to about 45, 46, we had the Deming Army Airfield. And it was a bombardier airfield, and it had a secret bombardier site that they kept very secret so the enemy would not get it for bombing. And many of the pilots and the bombardiers end up staying in Deming, marrying local women. And so we had 3 bases here in Deming.
And so does any of that, are any of those military installations, do they exist at all in any form now, or have they all been razed? Is that all gone now? Is there any remnants?
It's gone. There is nothing left. Of Fort Cummings, all is left is a spring and a few adobe walls. And at the Camp Coda, there is nothing. And for the Deming Army Air Base, there are 3 hangars that are still out there, and various concrete slabs, but it's become an industrial area. It was given to the city in about 1947.
So I know part of the name of your organization is the Members, and those that's for the Members Indians, I believe.
Yes.
I'm a historian up here in Santa Fe, but I don't know anything about the Members Indians. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, the Members Indians were around this area around 800 to 1,000 years ago. What they left was their pottery, and their pottery is very distinctive. It has lots of animals on it. We do a 4th grade program when we're not in COVID. We do a 4th grade program through the schools at our museum, and we teach them about the Members Indians. That Members means willow, and what they ate, how they gathered their food, what they lived in, and then when they disappeared, we don't know where they went really. And we do that in the afternoon for the 4th grade program. We do the military installation and cowboy and ranching and farming. Well, and that's what we do with 4th graders.
When you say that Membres means willow, in what dialect is that?
That I don't know. Willow is for tree, and there is some Members willow trees in this county. I am not acquainted with that type of a thing, but I just know we have a very large collection of Members pottery, of shards, of arrowheads and everything, and we have the documentation over here in the archives. So the Members pottery is very interesting to people.
Basically, as far as we know, or it's an extinct population. It no longer exists. They didn't move to Arizona or something.
No,
okay.
we don't know if they went to Colorado. We don't know if they went to Mexico. We don't know where they went. We just know they disappeared.
Okay, good. So tell me, I know a little bit about Columbus, New Mexico, and Pancho Villa. Tell me a little bit about that. Do you have any information on that?
Oh yes, we have information. Pancho Villa used to visit Deming. Used to go to the Harvey House at the railroad station, and everybody liked him. And in 1916, he attacked Columbus because of a disagreement over some arms with a merchant there in Columbus, and then some of his villistas were captured, and they were tried, and they were hung here in Deming. And we have the transcript from the trial from the judge who did the trial for the villistas. We have photographs. Now there's a lot of information. They have a museum down in Columbus. Of course, the fellow that used to be in charge of it has since died, and we're not sure what is going on with the museum. But we have a lot of pictures. We have about the Persian invasion of Mexico, and we know that the airplanes was used to see how well they be used in battle. And we also, the first bulldozer was down there in Columbus. And so, yes, we do have quite a bit of information about Columbus here.
Well, here in Santa Fe, I do a lot of work at the Palace of the Governors, but it's a photo archive. Do you have photos in your archive as well?
Yes, ma'am. Lots of them.
So
We
tell me
have
about some of the images and some of the eras that you might, that you feature there.
the World War I took a lot of panoramic photos of their camp and the thousands of tents and buildings that were out there, and the soldiers. I mean, we get people send us panoramas that we have copies of already, because I guess they made lots of copies, and so we have a lot of panoramas. We have a lot of pictures of the soldiers. We have letters from the soldiers. We have a trench and camp paper from the World War I. Camp Cody. The thing that was left in Camp Cody in 1919 was the hospital. And in 1923, the Holy Cross sisters from Indiana came and made a sanitarium out of it. And it was used as a sanitarium until about 1936, and it was closed. And they were trying to sell it, and it burned down in 1939.
And was it a sanatorium for tuberculosis? Because
Yes,
a lot of
yes.
those around the
Mhm.
around the state during that
Mhm.
era. So tell me about some of the other collections that you have at the archives.
We have collections of the pictures of the schools. The first school was built here in 1892. We still have with schools, the children, because we used to have a lot of community schools that were spread out in the county, where you had one-room schoolhouses, and then they were combined. And we have a lot of farming and ranching information. We have yearbooks from the schools from 1912 until the present. The first yearbook was 1912. They didn't put one out until then. And we also
That was the
have
year, just so people that might be watching this, that is the year that New Mexico became a state. So maybe that had something to do with it. That was the year that we became a state. So who knows?
yeah. We have our historic buildings were built in 1912. One of them was the Mahoney Building, was one of the pioneers of Deming, and the other one is the Baker Hotel. And they're still standing as a two-story buildings. We have churches. The first church building in Deming was 1882. It's a Methodist church. We still have two very old, over 100-year-old buildings, the Presbyterian and the Episcopal, that were built in the 1880s. And they're still there.
Are they still churches?
And they're still churches.
Okay.
Yes. We have about the pioneers of Deming, about Lindars and Nordhaus and Mahoney's and Wammels and Wormser. We have, and some of them were Jewish merchants that were here, and they're the one who helped build Deming. And we have the Deming Headlight. We can get all of the newspapers at the courthouse from 1901 till present. We don't have the 1881s. People will have pieces of them in different places, and we get that, but we don't have that older newspaper. But it was started in 1881. We have military, the Camping Trench. We have cemetery records that go back to the 1800s up to about 1986. We were given the cemetery records. Now we need to talk to the mortuary about getting more of them, see if they would give us more of them. And that cemetery that we have out to east of town was put in 1890. And they took the bodies from Boot Hill, which is where the McDonald sits, and they didn't get all the graves. And so when they built McDonald's, they were going to build a basement, and they couldn't build a basement because there were bones down there. They told them to don't build a basement. So, but most of the bodies are out at Mountain View Cemetery. And then we have all kinds of magazines, historic magazines. We've got some old Frontier Western magazines that's now True West and Wild West. And so we got some of those. We have some old records from El Placio. There's a lady that used to live in Santa Fe that brings us the magazine every month, El Palacio. And we have old records from the state. We have Oh, we have a lot of binders that have information in them. We have a lot of document boxes that have information in them. We are gathering them together so that we will be all in one place instead of scattered throughout the boxes. And so we're working on that. We have information on our computers, but we have a lot of old artifacts in Deming about Deming and Luna County. And the Harvey House was built around 1881, but it was torn down in 1930 because of the Depression. They didn't need the Harvey House, so they tore it down. We were a wild and woolly area in the 1880s and 1890s, and the Chinese were here, but they did not build the railroad. They had, there was a Chinese gardens. They furnished vegetables, fruits and vegetables for some of the restaurants in town. They had Chinese laundry. They had Chinese mercantile stores. They were busy in this area.
Well,
We
what-
also
if they didn't build it, ma'am, if they didn't build the railroad, why were the Chinese in your area? Why did they come to Deming?
I don't know, because they really did not build the railroad. It was the Hispanic population that built the railroad. The Chinese were in El Paso and they were in Arizona, but they weren't here in Deming for
But the
that reason.
railroad
And
went
why they came to Deming, because maybe the water, for if they were farmers, and they came because the water was we had ample water here and a very good growing climate and so forth. And that's why they came. Now we still have a Chinese restaurant here. It's been here since the 1950s and by different people, but it's in the same location. And but why? And then one family left because there was an incident out at Chinese Gardens where a young fellow was killed because he was trespassing. And so it turned a lot of the town people away from it, and they moved to Silver City.
But you still have, so what are the Chinese gardens? You still have that today?
No,
You don't.
you don't. There is no, I mean, I know about where it is, but there's nothing to show you there was a garden there at all.
But the railroad did go through Deming?
Yes,
So the
it was
Chinese-
supposed,
Go ahead.
excuse me.
I was just gonna say the Chinese may have been there because they were servicing the railroad, people that come and go. Maybe that's why they had a Chinese lawn.
They could have been there. Yeah, we were supposed to be the new Chicago. But the Deming merchants didn't keep the squatters off of the park that the railroad had built. And so they just made El Paso more the center than Deming.
Okay.
We were supposed to be the new Chicago. But
Let
we
me
didn't.
ask you, what percentage of your collection is digitized, or is any of it available that people could just search online, or do they physically have to go to your place of
No,
business?
there's some online. There's some online, but the company that did it, well, they made a mess of it, and so we're trying to redo it and get it online. But some of it is online under Deming Museum. Just go there. Also, we've had people come to Deming and go to the museum, because Deming Museum has doubled in size. It's a 2-story armory that was built in 1916. It's on the historical register, but they have built all the way to the end of the block to put in transportation, the railroad, farming and ranching. We have an old hearse that came from Mahoney's that belongs to a family here that they use for their funerals for their parents. We have an old doctor's buggy. We have old fire trucks, and we have like a main street that shows the old merchants, the old hair dryers that they used way back that I wouldn't want to get under because I feel I was going to get electrocuted. But anyway, and so we have no mortuary site, and we have it looking like a little town that Deming was like way back.
You've
And
you've kind of been able, through the museum, you're able to preserve the past.
yes, and some people have called it the Smithsonian of the Southwest.
I like
We've
that.
had people from the east that come through here and they have been the Smithsonian, and they call ours the Smithsonian of the Southwest.
Well, good. Well, you know, Sylvia, believe it or not, our time is up, and I want to thank you for participating in this interview.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate it. I enjoyed it. I was a little apprehensive, but we got there.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.